Joe's here. Jeff. We're going to talk about the deadlift now. So very important, right? Understanding the deadlift, what needs to get loaded, how the athlete needs to load, and making sure that they're using the proper muscle groups to get the weight moving, right? So sometimes you see in the deadlift people set up in a bit different manner. They've loaded the quads as opposed to the posterior chain, which is what we want to make sure takes the brunt of the load, right? So I'm going to ask Jeff to walk all the way up to the bar, make sure your shins are in contact with the bar. Next thing I'm going to do, make sure you're asking his feet are right under his hips, all right? After that, I want to make sure Jeff braces his spine. Right? A big deal in deadlifts is especially as we get heavy, right, it's just natural, you can see the background out, so very important that I ask Jeff to brace his spine. So I want him to pull his shoulders back, stick his chest out, right, he's going to take a big, and just talking about those two positions of global extension and global flexion that you hear all the time, right, so right in the middle of that, just kind of brace it, pull everything back, get nice and tight, alright? From there, Jeff's going to push his hips back, okay, this is the important part, right, a lot of times you'll see people just kind of bend their knees and get down there, right there, loading the quads. I want to make sure that I load the hips. Okay, so the hips got to go back. The butt goes back, right now butt goes down to grab the bar. All right, the athlete's shoulders are going to be slightly advanced the bar. That's okay, that's what we want. All right, we want to make sure though that his hip is in alignment with his shoulder. So I don't want his hips above his shoulders. So if he pushes his knees back, right, his hips are kind of ahead of his shoulders, right? Now we've lost his glutes. We can't use his butt anymore, so now he's just going to be all hamstring and his extenders in his spine, and that's going to be terrible, okay? So he's got to lower his butt just a little bit, right? Make sure he's in alignment. His shoulders back, he's nice and braced to his spine. Also very important that the head stays in proper position, right? We do not want to cause any kind of compression through the spine. So very important that Jeff picks a spot about 3 feet in front of him and he stays looking at it. The moment he cocks his head up, right, he's caused compression in the spine, and now the system's a little bit weaker, okay? So now I'm going to ask Jeff to keep the weight in his heels, and as he comes up, I want his hips and shoulders to rise together. I don't want to see just hips shoot up, I don't want to see just shoulders shoot up because he's going to go around his knees. So I want the brunt of the load to start in his hamstrings, or the brunt of the tension to start in his hamstrings. It's going to transfer to his glutes. Once the bar gets past his knees, I'm going to ask him to shoot his hips to the bar. Alright? So his knees go back, his shoulders right simultaneously, he gets to his bar, and then he shoots his hips forward. Alright? On the way down, so it's not in there. The deadlift isn't completed until we come back down, right? It's an eccentric as well as concentric load, right? So now he's loaded, as he comes back down, again, pulls his shoulders back, big chest, braces his spine, he pushes his butt back, he pushes his butt down until the bar comes to the ground. Okay, very important that you load properly on the way down, right? Making sure that concentric load is tight as well as just as it was coming up, right? Good. So I'm gonna have to do one more real quick. Right, the big piece, especially in deadlift, is never that first one there athletes mess up. It's always the second one. Okay, so a couple of things you don't want to see, right? You don't want to see them just load their knees on the way down. So if their knees would be the first thing to bend, right, he's gonna load in properly, right? The weight's gonna be out in front. So very important that very important that the athlete pushes the bar into their thighs as they push their hips back to make sure it stays close. He pushes his hips back and pushes his hips down. All right, that's the deadlift.